Hare Krishna, somebody can start Pranam Mantra.
Can I start, Mataji?
Yes.
Om Shri Agnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Unmiltam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaya Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण माता जी.
Hare Krishna.
We have to do NOD 31 माता जी.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody can start. Sorry for a slight delay.
May I start, Mataji?
Yes.
Additional symptoms. All the previously mentioned 33 symptoms of ecstatic love are called vyabhichari or disturbing. All these symptoms refer to apparently disturbed conditions, but even in such disturbed conditions, there is acute ecstatic love for Krishna. These symptoms, however, can be divided into three groups: first class, second class, and third class. There are many disturbing symptoms in ecstatic love, such as envy, anxiety, pride, jealousy, conclusion, cowardliness, forgiveness, impatience, hankering, regret, doubtfulness, and impudence. These are included in the 33 conditions of ecstatic love. Srila Rupa Goswami has very nicely analyzed the different kinds of disturbing symptoms, and although it is very difficult to find the exact English equivalents for many Sanskrit words used here, his analysis will now be presented. When one becomes malicious upon seeing another's advancement of life, his state of mind is generally called envy. When someone becomes frightened at seeing a lightning bolt in the sky, that fearfulness brings on anxiety. Therefore, fearfulness and anxiety may be taken as one. One's desire to hide his real mentality is called avahita or concealment, and a desire to exhibit superiority is called pride. Both of these may be classified under. Masji, can you please scroll the slides? The sky. Fearfulness brings on anxiety. Therefore, fearfulness and anxiety may be taken as one. One's desire to hide his real mentality is called avahita or concealment, and a desire to exhibit superiority is called pride. Both of these may be classified under pretension. In a pretentious attitude, both avahita and pride are to be found. One's inability to tolerate an offense committed by another is called amartya, and one's inability to tolerate the opulence of another is called jealousy. Jealousy and amarsa are both caused by intolerance. One's ability to establish the correct import of a word may be called conclusiveness. And before such a conclusive determination of import, there must be thoughtful consideration. Therefore, the act of consideration is present during the establishment of a conclusion. When one presents himself as ignorant, his attitude is called humility, and when there is an absence of enthusiasm, it's called cowardice. Therefore, in humility, there is sometimes cowardice also. When the mind is steadfast, and it's called enduring, and one's ability to tolerate others often is also called endurance. Therefore, forgiveness and endurance can be synonyms. Anxiousness for time to pass is called impatience, and when one sees something wonderful, one is said to be struck with the wonder. Impatience may be caused by being struck with wonder, and so impatience and being struck with wonder can be synonyms. When anxiety is in its dormant stage, it is called hankering. Therefore, anxiety and hankering can also be synonyms. When one becomes regretful for some offense, this feeling is called bashfulness. In this way, bashfulness and regret can be synonyms. Doubtfulness is one of the aspects of argument. After exhibiting impudence, when one becomes restlessness. Therefore, restlessness and impudence can be synonyms. When all such synonyms are included in ecstatic love, they are called sanchari or continuously existing ecstatic synonyms. All of these symptoms are transcendental and they are exhibited in different ways, acting and interacting under different conditions. They are like reciprocation of love between the love and the beloved. When a person is envious or defamed, they may be changed in the color of the body. This may be classified as vibhava or sub-ecstasy. Sometimes illusion, collapse, and strong anxiety are also considered to be vibhava. When there are many such symptoms, they can simply be grouped together under ecstatic love. Srila Rupa Goswami says that fright, sleep, fatigue, laziness, and the madness of intoxication are sometimes grouped under continuous synonyms of ecstatic love, and they are due to a strong attraction. False argument, determination, steadiness, remembrance, joyfulness, ignorance, humility, and unconsciousness are also different symptoms of ecstatic love. Dependence is also grouped under ecstatic love, and this can be divided into superior dependence and inferior dependence. The direct differentiations between superior and inferior dependence are ascertained by Sri Rupa Goswami and will be presented in due course. One devotee exclaimed, "Oh, I cannot see the district of Mathura, even though by simply hearing the name of Mathura, the hairs of my body are standing up. I can't see the place. So, of what use are my eyes?" This statement reveals a strong anxiety to see the district of Mathura, resulting from a strong attachment to Krishna. There is another instance of the strong attachment for Krishna expressed by Bhima when he began to murmur, "My arms my arms are just like thunderbolts. But despite these arms, I could not smash Shishupala while he was blaspheming Krishna. Therefore, of what use of these strong arms?" In this instance, Bhima became angry and being influenced by such anger. This hopelessness became a cause of strong attachment to Krishna. This instance can be described as strong attachment for Krishna and anger. When Arjuna witnessed the universal form of Krishna, whose dazzling teeth were practically devouring the very existence of the universe, Arjuna's mouth became dried up. At that time, Arjuna forgot himself and could not understand that he was Arjuna, Krishna's friend, although he was always dependent upon Krishna's mercy. This incident is an example of inferior dependence. Sometimes ghastly activities also support strong ecstatic love for Krishna. This state of mind is called ecstatic fearfulness under illusion. In the 10th canto, 23rd chapter, verse 40 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the following statement by the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices: "We have all been born into these advantageous conditions. We are all in high Brahmana families. We have ceremoniously received the sacred thread, and we are also properly initiated by a spiritual master. But alas, in spite of all these advantages, we are condemned. Even our observations of brahmacharya is condemned." The Brahmanas thus began to condemn their own activities. They realized that in spite of being so elevated by birth, education, and culture, they still were under the spell of the illusory energy. They also admitted that even great yogis who are not devotees of the Lord are covered by the influence of material energy. This kind of hopelessness felt by the Brahmanas who are performing ritualistic ceremonies shows practically no attachment for Krishna. There is another hopelessness, however, which allows the attachment for Krishna. When the bull demon attacked the damsels of Braja, they began to cry out, "Dear Krishna, please save us. We are now gone." This is hopelessness with attachment for Krishna. When the Keshi demon was assassinated by Krishna, Kamsa became hopeless. He said, Keshi Daitya was dear to me as my own life. But he has been killed by some coward boy who is crude, uneducated, and ignorant in fighting. Even though I have defeated the king of heaven without difficulty, still I do not know the value of life because this hopelessness has a slight touch of attraction for Krishna. It is considered to be a reflection of ecstatic love and hopelessness. Kamsa once rebuked Akura by saying, "You are such a fool that you are accepting a coward boy to be the supreme personality of Godhead simply because he has defeated some harmless water snake. The boy may have lifted one pebble called Govardhan Hill, but what is more surprising than it is your statement that this body of the personality of God, that this is an instance of a maliciously opposing element caused by hopelessness and ecstatic love for Krishna." One devotee tried to console a Kadamba tree when the tree was lamenting because Krishna had not touched even its shadow. The devotee said, "My dear Kadamba tree, do not be worried. Just after defeating the Kalya snake in the Yamuna river, Krishna will come and satisfy your desire. This is an instance of inappropriate hopelessness in ecstatic love for Krishna. Garuda, the eagle, the carrier of Vishnu, once said, "Who can be more pure than I? Where is there a second bird like me, so able and competent? Krishna may not like me. He may not wish to join my party, but still he has to take advantage of my wings." This is an instance of hopelessness in the neutral mood of ecstatic love. The symptoms of ecstatic love are sometimes grouped under four headings, namely generation, conjunction, aggregation, and satisfaction. Krishna once told Radharani, "My dear friend, when you try to meet me alone in the morning, your friend Mekala remained hungry with envy. Just look at her." When Krishna was joking with Radharani in this way, Radharani moved her beautiful eyebrows crossly. Rupa Goswami plays that everyone may become blessed by this moment of Srimati Radharani's eyebrows. This is an instance of the generation of malice in ecstatic love of Krishna. One night, after the Putana demon had been killed, baby Krishna could be seen playing upon her breast. Upon seeing this, Yashoda became stunned for some time. This is an example of a conjunction of various symptoms of excessive love. The conjunction can be auspicious or inauspicious. That the Putana demon had been killed was auspicious, but the Krishna was playing on her breast in the dead of night with no one to help him in case of trouble was inauspicious. Yashoda was caught between auspiciousness and inauspiciousness. After Krishna had just learned to walk, he was going in and out of the horse very frequently. Yashoda became surprised and said, "This child is too restless and cannot be controlled. He is incessantly going about the neighborhood of Gokula, Vrindavana, and then he is coming back inside the house. I see that the child is very fearless, but in spite of his fearlessness, I am becoming more and more afraid of his falling into some danger." This again and an instance of the conjunction of two opposing elements. The child was very fearless, but at the same time, Yashoda was becoming fearful of some danger. Here, danger and the cause of Yashoda's feeling are in a conjunction of two opposing symptoms. In other words, Yashoda was feeling both happiness and doubt or growing fear. When Devaki, mother of Krishna, saw her son very jubilant in the presence of wrestlers in Kamsa's arena, two kinds of tears were simultaneously grinding down her cheeks. Sometimes her tears were warm and sometimes they were cold. This is an instance of conjunction of jubilation and lamentation due to different causes of ecstatic love. Once when Srimati Radharani was standing on the bank of Yamuna river in the forest of Vrindavana, she was attacked by Krishna, who was stronger than she. Although she externally expressed a disturbed mood from his incident, within herself she was smiling and feeling great satisfaction. Externally, she moved her eyebrows and re- made a show of rejecting Krishna. In this mood, Radharani looked very beautiful and Sri Rupa Goswami glorifies her beauty. This is an instance of exhibiting various feelings in ecstatic love, although the cause is only Krishna. Sometimes there were great festivals in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavana would assemble in these festivals. During one such festival, Srimati Radharani was seen wearing a golden necklace given by Krishna. This was uh, this was immediately rejected by Mother Yashoda as well as by Radharani's mother because the necklace was too long for Radharani's neck. At the same time, Radharani could see Krishna nearby as well as her own husband Abhimanyu. So all these things combined to make Radharani feel very much ashamed, and with her face shriveled, she began to look very beautiful. In this case, there was a combination of bashfulness, anger, jubilation, and lamentation. This is an instance of an aggregate symptom of ecstatic love. Kamsa once said, "What harm can this body do to me? He has no power." The next moment, Kamsa was informed that all of his friends had been killed by the boy. Then Kamsa began to think in perplexity. Shall I go immediately and surrender unto him? But how can a great warrior do this? The next moment he thought, why should I be afraid of him? There are still so many wrestlers standing to support me. But the next moment he began to consider, the boy is certainly not common because he has lifted Govardhana hill with his left hand. So what can I do in this connection? Let me go Vrindavana and inflict pains of all the residents there. But still I cannot even go out because my heart is trembling from fear of this boy. This condition of Kamsa's mind reveals an instance of pride, lamentation, humility, determination, remembrance, doubtfulness, anger, and fear. Actually, eight The different symptoms comprise the mental condition of Kamsa. This is another instance of aggregate of symptoms in hopeless ecstatic love. One householder devotee once said, "My Lord, I am so wretched that these two eyes are never desiring to see the glorious city of Mathura. Therefore, my eyes are actually condemned. I am nicely educated, but my education has simply been used in government service. I have not considered formidable time stronger than anything else, which create and annihilates everything. To whom shall I leave all of my wealth and fortune? I am becoming older and older. What shall I do? Shall I execute devotional service from here at home? This I cannot do because my mind is being attracted by the transcendental land of Vrindavana." This is an instance of hopelessness,
Hare
pride, doubt.
Krishna. Hare Krishna, Dikshit. Yeah, take rest. I think we'll ask somebody to read.
Mataji, may I?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. This is an instance of hopelessness, pride, doubt, patience, lamentation, determination, and eagerness, an aggregation of 7 different symptoms in ecstatic love for Krishna. There's a proverb in Sanskrit that says disappointment gives rise to the greatest satisfaction. In other words, when one sentiment or ambition becomes too great and is not fulfilled, until after seemingly hopeless tribulation that is taken as the greatest satisfaction. Once the cowherd boys in Vrindavana were vainly searching after Krishna for a long time, and for that reason the faces became blackened and the complexions appeared faded. Just then they could hear on the hill a faint vibration from Krishna's flute. Immediately all of them became very much gladdened. This is an instance of satisfaction in the midst of disappointment. Srila Rupa Goswami says that although he has no expert knowledge about the sounds and meanings and melodies of the symptoms of ecstatic love, he tried to give some examples of different varieties of love of Krishna. He further says that the 33 disturbing symptoms of ecstatic love plus 8 other symptoms, all other together equal to 41 primary symptoms of ecstatic love. These symptoms create transformations of bodily activities as well as movements of the senses. All of them can be accepted as different feelings of the heart. Sometimes some of the feelings are quite natural. Sometimes some of the feelings are just temporary appearances. Those symptoms that are very naturally always remains both within and without the devotee. As one can detect the color of dye a cloth was soaked in by looking at the cloth. So simply by understanding the different signs of these sim, somatic features, one can understand the actual position. In other words, attachment for Krishna is one, but because there exist different kinds of devotees, such attachment is manifested into many varieties. As clothing tinged red appears red, the temporary appearance of a certain type of feeling can be detected or observed by the specific ecstatic symptom. In fact, all the different humors and mellows of the devotees produce various specific feelings within the mind, and according to these differences, the symptoms of ecstatic love appear in different forms and degrees. If one's heart is highly elevated, grave, and magnanimous, if one's heart is rough and crude, different symptoms of ecstatic love will appear. Influenced by the condition of the heart, actually, people cannot generally understand such different qualities or mentalities, but when one's heart is very soft or gentle, these symptoms become very easily visible and one can understand them very clearly. The heart of one who is highly elevated and grave is compared to gold. If one's heart is very soft and gentle, his heart is compared to a cotton swab. When there is an ecstatic sensation within the mind, The golden heart or grave heart is not agitated, but the soft heart immediately becomes agitated. Excuse me. To offer another example, a grave, magnanimous heart is compared to a great city, and a soft heart is to an insignificant cottage. So there may be many light or even great elephants in the big city, but no one will take particular notice of them. But when such lights or elephants are seen near a small cottage, everyone can distinctly point them out. A heart is compared to a lightning bolt, to gold and shellac. The lightning bolt is very strong and never becomes soft. Similarly, the hearts of those who are engaged in severe austerities and penances do not become very easily softened. The golden heart becomes melted at high temperature as in ecstatic love, and the shellac heart is very easily melted in slight temperature. A soft heart is compared to honey, to butter and nectar, and the condition of the mind is compared to sunshine. As honey and butter become melted even in slight sunshine, soft hearted persons become easily melted. Nectar, however, is by its nature always liquid, and the hearts of those who are in pure ecstatic love with Krishna by nature always liquefy just like nectar. And a pure devotee of Krishna is always specifically qualified with nectarian qualifications and sometimes with the qualifications of butter and honey. On the whole, the heart in any of the different conditions mentioned above can be melted under certain circumstances, just as a hard diamond is sometimes melted by a combination of certain chemicals. In the Dana Keli Kaumudi, it is stated when love develops in the heart of a devotee, he cannot check the transformation of his sentiments. His heart is just like the ocean at the rising of the moon. When the ebb tide cannot be checked, immediately there must be movement of high waves. Mataji, could you explain this quoted lines? Mataji on mute.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Could you explain the quoted lines from when love of the in the heart of a devotee?
Which one?
When that is
When
given
love
quote.
develops in the heart of a devotee, he cannot check the transformation of his sentiments. His heart is just like an ocean at the rising of the moon. Okay. See, when a devotee he is progressing from a neophyte to an advanced devotee, lot of transformation happens within. And here it has been compared to that of a ocean. You know, you have a high tide and a low tide, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, similarly, a lot of tribulations will be going on within his this thing. So, although in its natural state, the ocean is always grave and unfathomable, when moon rises, nothing can check the ocean's agitation, isn't it? The high tide time. It is now it appears stable most of the time, but during high tide, it exceeds beyond. Similarly, those who are pure devotee cannot on any account check the moment of the feelings within, because sometimes they upsurge. You know, in the previous chapters we have read about this ecstatic feeling. Somebody is crying, somebody is feeling perspiration, somebody is having belching. Those are different feelings of a pure devotee towards the devotion service of the Lord. Similarly, each devotee will respond in a different way. And yeah, so you can't predict it exactly that this will be like this.
It's very unpredictable in nature.
Yes,
Okay.
because in the above paragraphs also we are seeing different love and a lot of emotions, isn't it? When we are reading it, uh, each paragraph is having at least varied emotions, 5 to 6 emotions, which is there, showing all rasas. Let it be Yashoda Maya or Radharani and Radharani and Lord Krishna and the devotees, isn't it? Everything is again the devotion service, but different emotions are attached to the devotion service of the Lord by individual devotee, isn't it? So
Yes,
those are the
Mataji.
examples.
Okay,
Yashodamaya is feeling afraid. At the same time, she was feeling happy that he is growing up. So these are different expression of a pure devotee.
okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Next,
Should I read this one?
somebody can continue, I think.
Mataji, how many chapters do we have in NOD?
51, I think.
51. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have covered more than half. No issue. We'll be able to complete probably. Yeah. Somebody else can read. Hare Krishna. Vaishnavi, are you there? Is your mic working?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, please read, no?
Okay. Symptoms of continuous ecstasy. The continuous ecstasy of love can remain like a powerful king, subduing all temporary manifestations of love as well as any opposing elements of anger. It can be exhibited directly or indirectly, and thus ecstatic love can be described as direct or indirect. These symptoms of ecstatic love are possible only when one is fully situated in a transcendental position. Direct ecstatic love can be divided into two groups, namely selfish and selfless. When the when non-contradictory symptoms of ecstatic love are distinctly manifest, any contradictory symptom creates a sense of abomination. Contradictory ecstatic love is called selfish. That ecstatic love that can adjust all contradictory or non-contradictory symptoms is called direct selfless love. These selfless symptoms can again be divided into five groups: neutrality, servitude, fraternity, parenthood, and conjugal love. Such ecstatic love assumes a particular mode in contact with different objects of love. Neutrality. Neutrality can be further subdivided into general, transparent, and peaceful. An attraction for Krishna by the people in general or by children cannot take any specific or satisfactory position. It can be manifest sometimes in trembling of the body and changing of the color of the eyes to red, white, etc. Although there is no symptom of any particular affection. One old man was told by a young man, "Just see how this child, only 3 years old, is so jubilant. Simply by seeing Krishna, he is running so swiftly, making a tumultuous sound. Just see." This is an instance of neutral ecstatic love in the heart of a child without any specific subdivision. Due to the different types of attraction for Krishna, there are different varieties of devotees. Their symptoms are manifested transparently, just like jewels. It is said that a great devotee, Brahmana, would sometimes address the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Master and sometimes joke with the Lord, using different kinds of familiar words. Sometimes he would protect the Lord with a filial affection, sometimes he would cry out to the Lord, addressing the Lord as his beloved, and sometimes he would meditate on the Lord as the Supersoul. This means that Brahmana expressed his ecstatic loving symptoms in different ways at different times. But in each instance, because of the ecstatic love, the Brahmana merged himself in the ocean of happiness and became situated in pure love. Thus, he was a transparent medium, like a jewel, that shows reality in varying colors according to his own nature. When the great sage Narada was glorifying the pastimes of the Lord with his veena, the four Kumaras, headed by Sanaka, although merged into the impersonal conception of Brahman, were trembling all over. Another devotee once exclaimed, "Although I can achieve liberation simply by serving the devotees, My mind is still very much anxious to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily complexion is just like a dark cloud. When a devotee is so anxious to contact the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that can also be accepted as a symptom of mutual love, pure and mixed flavors. Generally, a devotee of Lord Krishna may be placed into one of the three groups. One group consists of those who are completely dependent on the merciful affection of the personality of Godhead. Another group consists of devotees who are dealing with Krishna on friendly terms. And the third group consists of those who are dealing with Krishna as his superiors with parental affections. These three classes of devotees gradually develop different relationships of transcendental mellow with the personality of Godhead. When the attraction for Krishna is based on only one particular humor, that humor is called Kevala or the pure state. One in this pure state of devotional service gradually develops the desire to follow the footsteps of an eternal associate of Krishna, example to follow in the footsteps of Rasala, the personal attendant of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, or to follow Krishna's friend like Sridhama and Sudama, or to follow Nanda and Yashoda devotee in parenthood. Ecstatic love for Krishna is never manifested directly by the devotee. The devotee has to follow in the footsteps of eternal associates of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. When transcendental humor in the relationship with Krishna became mixed, example when the relationship with Krishna in friendship, servitorship, and parental love become mixed together, the result is called mixed humor or flavor. Such transcendental such mixed transcendental flavors are manifested by such devotees as Uddhava, Bhima, and Mukhara, the personal attendant of Mother Yashoda. Although devotional humors are sometimes found in mixture, a particular humor is always found to be a prominent and constant factor. That prominent humor is to be accepted as the devotee's main relationship with Krishna. For example, Uddhava is in relationship with Krishna as a friend, but in Uddhava's character, a trace of servitude to Krishna is also visible. Such friendship is called friendship in reverence. The friendship typified by Sridhama or Sudama, however, is the standard friendship without any tinge of reverence. Subordinate ecstatic love. The devotees who always think of Krishna as a superior are in subordinate ecstatic love. To such a devotee, the concept of inferiority to the Lord is very prominent, and he rarely takes interest in any other kind of transcendental loving humor with the Lord. In the Mukunda Mala Stotra, compiled by King Kulasekhara, one of the prayers says, My dear Lord, you are the deliverer of living entity from the hellish conditions of materialistic life, but that does not matter to me. Whether I am elevated to the heavenly platform or remain in the earthly planet or am dispatched to some hellish planet, that does not matter at all to me. My only prayer is that at the time of my death I may simply remember your two beautiful feet, which are just like lotus flowers fructifying during the autumn season. Friendship. As far as friendship is concerned, those high grade devotees who are almost like Krishna are considered to be great authorities in the mode of friendly relations with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On that friendly platform, there are different kinds of laughing and joking conversations. An example of such a friendly relationship with Krishna is described in Srimad Bhagavatam when Krishna was once thinking, Today, while I was engaged in tending the cows in the pasturing grounds of Vrindavan, I went to collect some flowers in the beautiful garden. At that time, my friends, the cowherd boys, were unhappy even to tolerate a 2 minute separation from me. And when they found me, there was competition between us as to who would touch the other first for the flowers we had in hand. One friend criticized Krishna thus, My dear Damodara, although you have been defeated by Sri Rama and have become sufficiently minimized in strength by a false expression of strength, you have somehow covered your shameful condition of defeat, parenthood, or superiority. When Mother Yashoda heard that Krishna's cows were being forcibly moved by strong servants of Kamsa and that the tender cowherd boys were trying to protect their cows, she began to think, how can I protect these poor boys from the invasion of Kamsa's servant? This is an instance of a superior attitude in a devotee. As soon as Mother Yashoda found her son Krishna returning from the pasturing ground, she immediately began to pat him, touching her fingers to the cheek of the Lord. Conjugal love. Above even the humor of love between Krishna and his parents is a relationship of conjugal love. The Lord and the young gopis exhibit these different ways, glancing, moving the eyebrows, speaking with speaking very sweet words and exchanging smiles. There is a statement in the Govinda Vilasa to this effect. Srimati Radharani was looking for Krishna very anxiously and almost disappointedly. When there is such an indirect expression of conjugal love, there is smiling, astonishment, enthusiasm, lamentation, anger, dread, and sometimes ghastliness. And these seven exchanges of conjugal love form another state of ecstatic love. In a direct relationship of conjugal love, there is laughter, astonishment, chivalry, lamentations, anger, and dread, but there is no ghastliness. These expressions are considered to be great reservoirs of pleasure. When these seven kinds of ecstatic loving exchanges are manifested, they attain the status of steadiness by which the taste of conjugal love expands. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Isn't it beautiful? Every time we are reading, every time it's like a nectar. Next, somebody can continue reading. Indirect expressions of ecstatic love, laughter. Hare Krishna. Somebody can read.
Shall I
Can I
continue?
can I read Mataji?
Yeah, Mata.
Vaishnavi Mataji can read.
Or
No,
should
no, I already read the chapter.
Okay. After he should I start from astonishment or after he had stolen Mataji?
we have started the chapter now?
Okay. Indirect expressions of ecstatic love. Laughter. After he had stolen some yogurt from the pots of two gopis, Krishna told one of his gopi friends, my dear beautiful friend, I can take a note that I have not stolen even a drop of yogurt from your pot. But still, your friend Radharani is very shameless, smelling the a flavor of my mouth, kindly forbid her from this devious policy of putting her face near mine. When Krishna was speaking like this, Radharani's friends could not check their laughter. This is an instance of laughter in ecstatic love. Astonishment. Once Brahma was watching all the cows and the cowherd boys dressed in yellow garments and decorated with valuable jewels. The boys were expanding their four arms and were being worshipped by hundreds of other Brahmanas. All the cowherd boys began to express their joyfulness for being with Krishna, the supreme Brahman. At this time, Brahma showed his astonishment by exclaiming, "What am I seeing here? This is instance of astonishment in ecstatic love, chivalry." On the banks of Yamuna, once there was the crackling sound of dry leaves giggling from the cowherd boys and thundering from the sky. Sridhama was tightening his belt to fight with Krishna, the conqueror of demon Agha. This is an instance of chivalry in ecstatic love. Lamentation. In the 10th canto, 7th chapter, verse 25 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of Krishna being taken away by the whirlwind demon Trinavarta. As Krishna was being thus carried up into the sky, all the gopis began to cry aloud. They approached Mother Yashoda, stating that they could not find the son of Nanda. He had been taken away by a whirlwind. This is an instance of lamentation in ecstatic love. When Krishna was fighting with Kaliya, Mother Yashoda exclaimed, Krishna is now entrapped within the hoods of Kaliya snakes, and yet I'm not tattered into pieces. But so I must admit how wonderful is the preserving power of this material body. This is another instance of lamentation in ecstatic love. Anger. When Jatila, the mother of Abhimanyu, saw Krishna wearing a necklace, she could understand that the jeweled ornaments had been given to him by Radharani. She therefore became absorbed in anger and began to move her eyebrows, expressing her anger in ecstatic love. Ghastliness. There is a statement by Yamunacharya to this effect: since I have begun to enjoy these transcendental exchange of love, which are always newer and newer, whenever I remember the pleasure of past sex life, my lips curl and I wish to spit on the idea. This is an instance of ecstatic love and ghastliness. Dread. One old devotee said, "My dear Lord, when we are away from you, we become so anxious to see you again, and there is the great misery in our lives. But then when we do see you, there immediately comes the fear of separation. Under the circumstances, both when we see you and when we do not see you, we are subjected to different kinds of tribulations. There's an instance of contradictory mixture of ecstatic love for Krishna. Such ecstatic love is palatable, and expert critic have compared such ecstatic love to the mixture of curd, sugar candy, and a bit of black pepper. The combined taste is very palatable. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll complete one more chapter
Okay,
Yes, Mataji.
because we have a time.
Can I read?
Yes, you can start reading.
Okay. Okay.
should I continue, Mataji?
No. Vaishnavi.
Chapter 34, The Nectar of Devotion. The particular type of ecstatic loving sentiments that develops within the heart of a particular devotee is considered to be vibhava, and the resultant manifestations such as moving of the eyebrows, fear, astonishment, and smiling, which have been explained herein before, are called anubhava. The different causes of developing anubhava and vibhava are called steady ecstasy or sanchari bhava. Whenever there is a recitation of poetry or a dramatic play on the different pastimes of Krishna, the audience develops different kinds of transcendental loving service for the Lord. They enjoy different types of vibhava, anubhava, and sanchari bhava. No one, while remaining on the material platform, should discuss these different descriptions of bhava and anubhava by quoting different statements of transcendental literature. Such manifestations are displayed of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. One should simply try to understand that on the spiritual platform there are many varieties of reciprocal love. Such loving exchange should never be considered to be material. In Mahabharata, Uddhama Parva, it is warned that things that are inconceivable should not be subjected to arguments. Actually, the transactions of the spiritual world are inconceivable to us in our present state of life. Great liberated souls like Rupa Goswami and others have tried to give us some hint of transcendental activities in the spiritual world. But on the whole, these transactions will remain inconceivable to us at the present moment. Understanding the exchanges of transcendental loving service with Krishna is possible only when one is actually in touch with the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord. In this connection, Sri Rupa Goswami gives an example of the clouds in the sky. The clouds in the sky arise from the ocean, and when the clouds become water again and fall to the ground, they slide back to the ocean. Thus, the pleasure potency of Krishna is compared to the ocean. The pure devotees is the pleasure possessing cloud, and when he is filled with transcendental loving service, then he can bestow his mercy as a downpour of rain, and the pleasure potency returns to the ocean of Krishna. Direct and indirect attraction for Krishna. Transcendental pleasures derived from devotional service can be divided into two groups: direct devotional service and indirect devotional service. Direct devotional service is divided into five transcendental humors or flavors, and indirect devotional service is divided into seven transcendental humors. During devotional service are as follows: neutrality, servitude, fraternity, and parental and conjugal love. Indirect devotional service is divided into laughter, compassion, anger, chivalry, dread, astonishment, and ghastliness. Devotional service can therefore be divided into 12 types, each of which has a different color. The colors are white, multicolored, orange, red, light green, grey, yellow, off-white, smoky, pink, black, and cloudy. The 12 different kinds of transcendental humors are controlled by different incarnations of God, such as Kapila, Madhava, Upendra, Narsimha, Nandananda, Balarama, Kurma, Kalki, Raghava, Bhargava, Varaha, and Matsya. Sustenance, manifestation, expansion, reflection, and lamentation are five visible symptoms in exchanges of ecstatic love. The test of devotional service can therefore be made in terms of these five symptoms. In this devotional service of neutrality, there is sustenance. In chivalrous devotional service, there is expansion. In compassionate devotional service, there is reflection. In angry devotional service, there is lamentation, and so on. An apparent pitiable condition in devotional service may appear distressing to the inexperienced student, but the feelings of a devotee in this pitiable condition are considered to be ecstatic by expert devotees. For example, the subject matter of the Ramayana is sometimes considered pitiable and distressing to the heart, but actually that is not the fact. The Ramayana narrates how Lord Rama was sent to the forest by his father just when he was going to be enthroned. After Lord Rama's departure, Maharaja Dasharatha, his father, died in the forest. His wife Sita Devi was kidnapped by Ravana, and there was a great war. When Sita Devi was finally delivered from the clutches of Ravana, Ravana's whole family and kingdom, and Ravana himself were vanquished. When Sita Devi came home, she was tried by fire, and after some days she was again banished to forest. All of these all of these subjects in Ramayana seem very pitiable, and they may appear very distressing to the reciter, but actually they are not. Otherwise, why would Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Ramchandra, read daily about the activities of Lord Ramchandra as described in Ramayana itself? The fact is that in any of the above mentioned 12 transcendental humors of devotional service, everything is transcendentally pleasing. Srila Rupa Goswami mourns in this connection for the persons who are in the fire of false renunciation, the dry speculative habit, and whose neglect devotional service. Persons who are attached to the ritualistic ceremony recommended in the Vedas and to the impersonal Brahman can not relish the transcendental pleasure of devotional service. Sri Rupa Goswami advises, therefore, that devotees who have already tasted the nectar of devotion be very careful to protect devotional service from the such dry speculators, formal, formal ritualistic elevationists, and impersonal Salinists. Devotees should protect their valuable jewels of, of spiritual love from the clutches of thieves and vulgar. In other words, a pure devotee should not describe devotional service and its different analytical aspects to dry speculators and false renouncers. Those who are not devotees can never achieve the benefits of devotional service. For them, the subject of devotional service is always very difficult to understand. Only persons who have dedicated their life unto the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead can relish the real nectar of devotion. When one transcends the status of ecstatic love and thus becomes situated on the highest platform of pure goodness, one is understood to have cleansed the heart of all material contaminations. In that pure stage of life, One can taste this nectar, and this tasting capacity is technically called rasa or transcendental mood. Thus, ends the Bhaktivedanta summary study of the second division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the matter of general devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Beautiful, no?
Yes, Mataji.
Shall we complete one more chapter?
Yes, Mataji, we have time.
Yeah, somebody else can read it. Dikshit.
Can I continue, Mataji?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 35, Neutral Love for God. Srila Rupa Goswami offers his respectful prayers to the eternal Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always so beautiful and for whom the pure devotees are always engaged in loving transcendental service. This third division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu describes the five primary kinds of devotional service, namely neutrality, servitude, fraternity, parenthood, and conjugal love. These five items will be very elaborately explained here, and thus they have been figuratively described as the five waves on the east-western side of this ocean of the nectar of devotion. When one is actually able to maintain the transcendental position, a stage is called neutrality in devotional service. Some great sages have attained this neutral position by practicing austerity, penance, and meditation to control the senses. Such sages are generally called mystic yogis, and in most cases, they are inclined to appreciate the spiritual pleasure of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. They are practically unaware of the transcendental pressure derived from personal contact with the Supreme Godhead. Actually, the transcendental pressure derived in association with the Supreme Person is far greater than the pleasure derived from impersonal Brahman realization because of the direct meeting with the eternal from the Lord. Impersonalists do not directly derive the transcendental pleasure of association with the Lord by hearing of his pastimes. As such, the impersonalists cannot derive any relishable transcendental pressure from the topics of Bhagavad Gita in which the Lord is personally talking with Arjuna. The basic principle of their impersonal attitude does not allow them the transcendental pressure that is relished by a devotee whose basic principle of understanding is the supreme person. The impersonalistic commentary on Bhagavad Gita is therefore disastrous because without understanding the transcendental pressure of the Gita, the impersonalist wants to interpret in his own way. If an impersonalist can, however, come into contact with a pure devotee, his transcendental position can be changed for greater elevation. Great sages are therefore recommended to worship the form of Lord in order to achieve the highest transcendental pleasure without worshipping the Arka Vigraha, the form of the
Archa Vigraha.
Archa Vigraha, the form of deity of the Lord. One cannot understand such literature as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. For those great sages situated in the position of transcendental neutrality, the beginning should be to take the shelter of Lord Vishnu, the 400 eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mystic yogis are therefore advised to meditate on the form of Lord Vishnu, as recommended by Kapila Muni in the Sankhya Yoga system. Unfortunately, many mystic yogis try to meditate on something void, and as stated in the Gita, the result is that they simply undergo trouble and do not achieve any tangible result. When someone great saintly persons who had undergone penances and austerities saw the four-handed transcendental form of Vishnu, they remarked, this four-handed form of the Lord manifested in a bluish color is the reservoir of all pressure and the center of all living force. Actually, when we see this eternal form of Vishnu, we, along with many other prana Paramahamsas become immediately captivated by the beauty of the Lord. This appreciation of Lord Vishnu by saintly persons is an instance of situation in Santarasa or the neutral stage of devotional service. In the beginning, those who are aspiring for salvation try to get out of the material entanglement by performing painful austerities and penances, and ultimately they come to the impersonal status of spiritual realization. At this Brahma Bhuta stage of revelation from material entanglement, the symptoms, as explained in Bhagavad Gita, are the one becomes joyous behind any hankering or lamentation and gains a universal vision. When the devotee is situated in the Santarasa or neutral stage of devotional service, he appreciates the Vishnu form of Lord. Actually, all Vedic culture is aiming at understanding Lord Vishnu. In the Rig Veda, one mantra says that any advanced saintly person is always aspiring to be fixed in meditation upon the lotus feet of Vishnu. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the foolish do not know that Vishnu is the ultimate goal of life. According to the conclusion of all authoritative Vedic scriptures, when a person comes to a stage of appreciating Vishnu, he is at the beginning of devotional service. If one cultivates devotional service further and further under proper guidance, one's feature of devotional service will gradually become manifest. At the stage of Santarasa, one can see Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer of even the demons. The Lord is appreciated by such would be devotees as the eternal transcendental form, the chief of all self-realized souls, the supreme and the supreme Brahman. He is also appreciated as being completely peaceful, completely controlled and pure, merciful to the devotees and untouched by any material condition. This appreciation of Lord Vishnu in awe and veneration by the saintly is to be understood as a sign that they are situated in the Santarasa, the neutral stage of devotional service. This stage of Santarasa can be attained by the impersonalists only when they are in association with pure devotees. Otherwise, it's not possible. After Brahman realization, when a liberal soul comes in contact with a pure devotee of Lord Krishna and submissively accept the teaching of Lord Krishna without misinterpretation, he becomes situated in this neutral stage of devotional service. The best example of saintly persons stated in the Santaras are Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanadna, and Sanat Kumara. The Kumara brothers, these four saintly persons known as Chatusana, are sons of Lord Brahma. After their birth, when were ordered by their father to become householders and increase human society, they refused the order. They said that they had already decided not to become entangled with family life. They would rather live as saintly brahmacharis for their own perfection. So these great saints have been living for millions of years now, but still they appear to be just like boys of 4 or 5 years. Their complexions are very fair. There is an effulgence in their bodies, and they always travel naked. These four saintly persons almost always remain together. Is one of the prayers of Kumara brothers. This declaration is made, O Lord Mukunda, Krishna, the giver of revelation, only so long as one does not happen to see your eternal from a bliss and knowledge, appearing just a newly grown tamala tree with a bluish hue. Only for so long can the impersonal feature of the absolute truth known as Brahman be very pleasing to a saintly person. The qualifications of a saintly person are described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. A saintly person is one who understands fully that simply by discharging devotional service, he can become confident of liberation. He is always situated in the regulative principles of devotional life and at the same time aspires to be liberated from material entanglement. A saintly person thinks like this. When shall I be able to live alone in the caves of the mountains? When shall I be dressed simply with undergarments? When shall I be satisfied by eating simply a little fruit and vegetables? When will it be possible for me to think always of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who is the source of the Brahmana effulgence? When in such a spiritual condition of life shall I fully understand my days and nights to be insignificant moments in eternal life? The devotee and self-realized persons who are engaged in preaching the glories of Lord always maintain an ecstatic love for Vishnu, for Lord within their hearts. Thus, they are benefited by the rays of the ecstatic moon, and they are called saintly persons. The impulse of saintly person who is to be engaged is the study of the Vedas, especially the Upanishadic portions. To live always in a place where there is no disturbance from the common people, to think always the eternal form of Krishna, to be ready to consider and understand the absolute truth, to be always prominent in exhibiting knowledge, to see the Supreme Lord in his universal from Vishwarupa, to associate always with learned devotees, and to discuss the conclusion of the Vedas with similarly elevated persons. All of this qualification of a saintly person serve to raise him to the status of Santarasa. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is stated that all those who attended the pious meeting held by Lord Brahma for the study of the Vedic literature like Upanishads became overwhelmed with ecstatic love for Krishna, the chief of the Yadu dynasty. Actually, the result of studying the Upanishad is to understand the supreme personality of Godhead. Negation of material existence is only one of the subjects of the Upanishads. The next subject concerns becoming situated in the impersonal realization, and then, after penetrating through the impersonal Brahman, when one comes to the platform of association with the supreme personality of Godhead, one reaches the ultimate goal in studying the Upanishads. Those who are situated in the platform of Santarsa get their impetus for advancement in devotional service by smelling the tulasi offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, by hearing the sound of his conch shell, by seeing a scantified place in some mountain or hill, by observing a forest like the ones in Vrindavana, by going to a place of pilgrimage, by visiting the course of the Ganges River, by being victorious over the dictations of bodily demands, that is, sleeping, eating, mating, and defending, by understanding the devastation of eternal time, and by constantly associating with devotees engaged in Krishna consciousness. All these different items are favorable in elevating saintly persons situated in Santarasa to the advanced stage of devotional service. In the third canto, 15th chapter, verse 43 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement by the four saintly person known as Chatusana, headed by Sanaka Kumara. They went to visit the Lord of Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky, and when they bowed down before the Lord, the aroma of the tulsi mixed with saffron entered their nostrils and immediately attracted their minds. Although these four saintly persons were always absorbed the tulsi leaves, the hairs on their bodies immediately stood up. This shows that even a person who is situated in Brahman realization, if he is put into association with devotees in pure devotional service, will immediately become attracted to the personal feature of the Lord. There are certain symptoms of great sages who are situated in Santarasa devotional service, and these symptoms are exhibited as follows. They concentrate their eyesight on the tip of nose and they behave just like a avaduta. Avaduta means a highly elevated mystic who does not care for any social, religious, or Vedic conventions. Another symptom is that such persons are very careful to step forward when giving speeches. When they speak, they join together the forefinger and thumb. This is called the Jnana Mudra position. They are not against the atheists, nor they are particularly inclined to the devotees. Such persons give stress to liberation and detachment from the materialistic way of life. They are always neutral and have no affection for nor misidentification with anything material. They are always grave but fully absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These uncommon features develop in devotees who are situated in Santarasa. Regarding concentration of the eyesight on the tip of nose, there is statement in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by a devotee who observed this being performed by a yogi. He remarked, this great sage is concentrating his eyesight on the tip of his nose, and from this it appears that he is already realized in the eternal form of Lord Vishnu himself. Sometimes a devotee in Santarasa yarn stretches his limbs, instructs on devotional service, offers respectful obeisances onto the form of the Lord, offers nice prayers to the Lord, and had a desire to give direct service with his body. These are some of the common symptoms of the devotee who is situated in neutrality. One devotee, after observing the yarning of another devotee, addressed him this, my dear mystic, I think that within your heart there is some excessive devotional love which is causing you to yawn. This is it is sometimes found that a devotee in the Santarasa falls down on the ground, his hair stand up on his body, and he trembles all over. In this way, a different symptom of ecstatic trance are exhibited automatically by such devotees. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that when Lord Krishna was blowing his conch shell, known as Panchajanya, many great sages who were living in the caves of mountains immediately reacted, being awakened from their trance of meditation. They immediately saw that the heads of their bodies were standing. Sometimes devotees in the Santarasa became stunned, peaceful, jubilant, deliberate, reflective, anxious, dexterous, and argumentative. These symptoms indicate continuous ecstasy or exhibited emotion. Once a great realized sage was lamenting that the Supreme Lord Krishna was living in Dwaraka, but that he was unable to take advantage of seeing him. After thinking this, the sage immediately became stunned. He was thinking that he was simply wasting his time. In other words, the sage lamented because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was personally present, but he still could not take advantage of his because of his meditation. When a mystic is transcendental to all kinds of mental conditions and is situated in Brahman, his state is called trance, beyond the influence of the material conception of life. In that stage, when one hears about the transcendental pastimes of Lord, there may be shivering in the body. When a Brahman realized a devotee who was come to the stage of steady trance comes into contact with the eternal form of Krishna, this transcendental pressure increases millions of times. One great stage once inquired from other, my dear friend, do you think that after I perfect the eightfold yoga performance, I shall be able to see the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? This inquiry from the sage is an instant of inquisitiveness in a devotee situated in the neutral stage of devotional service. When Lord Krishna, along with his elder brother Balarama and sister Subhadra, came to Kurukshetra in a chariot with the occasion of solar eclipse, many mystic yogis also came. When these mystic yogis saw Lord Krishna and Balarama, they exclaimed that now that they had seen the excellent bodily effulgence of the Lord, they had almost forgotten the pleasure derived from impersonal Brahman realization. In this connection, one of the mystic approached Krishna and said, "My dear Lord, you are always full with transcendental bliss, excelling all other spiritual positions, and so simply by seeing you from a distant place, I have come to the conclusion that there is no need of being situated in the transcendental bliss of impersonal Brahman." When a great mystic was once awakened from his meditative trance by hearing the vibration of Krishna's Panchajanya conch shell, the mystic became overpowered so much. So in fact that he began to bash his head on the ground, and with eyes full of tears and ecstatic love, he violated all the rules and regulations of his yoga performance. Thus, he at once neglected the process of Brahman realization. Vilvamangala Thakura in his book Krishna Karnamrita says, "Let the impersonals be engaged in the process of transcendental realization by worshipping the impersonal Brahman. Although I was also initiated in the path of Brahman realization, I have now become misled by a naughty boy, one who is very cunning, who is very much attached to the gopis, and who has made me his maid servant. So I have now forgotten the process of Brahman realization." Vilvamangala Thakura was first spiritually initiated for impersonal realization for the absolute truth, but later on, by his association with Krishna in Vrindavana, he became an experienced devotee. The same thing happened to Shukadeva Goswami, who also reformed himself by the grace of Lord and took to the path of devotional service, giving up the way of impersonal realization. Shukadeva Goswami and Bilvamangal Thakura, who gave up impersonal conception of the absolute truth to take the devotional service, are the best examples of devotees situated in the neutral state. According to some authorities, this condition cannot be accepted as one of the transcendental humours or rasas. But Srila Rupa Goswami says that even if one does not accept it as a transcendental humour, one must still accept it as the beginning position of devotional service. However, if one is not further raised in the platform of actual service of Lord, he is not considered to be on the platform of transcendental mellow. In his connection, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna personally instructs Uddhava like this: "The state of being established in my personal form is called Santarasa, and without being situated in this position, no one can advance to actual pure devotional service." In other words, no one can be situated in the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without being situated at least in Santarasa. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, very nicely you have completed the whole chapter. Very nice, Dikshit. Hare Krishna. Next week we'll read about the transcendental affection servitude of Krishna.
Mataji, I guess we still have time.
No, I think it is
Mataji, actually,
9:10.
Mataji, I have a problem in uploading the audio for the Bhagavad Gita Shloka recitation.
Yeah, how did the other participants did?
I
No, Mataji, I am also not able to upload it.
Actually, I put it in a group to Devika Mataji. I'll just
Yeah,
speak to her once.
did she reply to you?
No, actually, I put it in the group, but I didn't get any reply.
Yeah, I am
I
there in the group.
Yeah, I'll message her personally.
have
Okay.
you, Mataji, have you forwarded the audios which we sent in the group last time to Devika Mataji?
I don't know. I think you need to upload it. Try once again, no?
How it is done actually? I tried uploading it, but it's not happening. How is it done?
You're not able to fill the form also, no?
Yes,
Without
sir.
audio, it is
No,
not.
no, Mataji. Actually, what happened is I filled the form twice and tried to
Yes,
upload the audio. The audio is not going, but the form is getting submitted.
yes,
Okay, then do
Mataji.
like that, no, Rachaita?
I've filled the form, but as Mataji, Vaishnavi Mataji is saying, we are not being able to upload the audios. How it is done, I also don't know. I've tried it many times. I've tried it.
It's okay, no problem. If you're able to fill the form, then okay. Let's see, this is the first time, no? How does it goes and all? Only you come to know.
Okay.
Maybe they wanted to give a fair chance to all and all, but we have been asking for a chance. We are giving chance to everyone, but nobody is responding. Hope so with this from some good devotees may come, but not the scrap material. Like some nuisance people were there, no, in the beginning, they renamed themselves into different chapters, and so all those people, they cannot be tolerated actually.
So we are not allowed to change our names on the basis of a chapters we recite.
No, Mataji. Actually, few of the devotees were trying to change the name according to the chapter we were reciting here,
Okay,
and they were
okay.
not like giving their names for the
Recitation.
recitation. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
actually I filled the form at least twice, thrice, but still I'm not being able to upload the audio. So will they consider the form, Mataji?
I'll just speak to her once. Okay. I'll speak to her, and whatever it is, I'll get back to you people. I'll reply in the group.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay, fine. Hare Krishna. Will
Thank
conclude today by saying the Narsimati. Who is going to say today?
Mataji, can I do it?
Yes, Dikshit.
Hare Krishna. Namaste Narashinghaya. Namaste Narashinghaya. Prahlad Prahlad Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Shilatankalakalaye Shilatankalakalaye Ito Nishingha Bharato Nishinha Ito Nishinha Parato Nishinha Ito Nishinha Parato Nishinha Yato Yamitato Nishinha Yato Yamitato Nishinha Bahi Nishinha Hridaye Nishinha Bahir Nrsimha, Hridaye Nrsimha, Bahir Nrsimha, Hridaye Nrsimha, Narasingha Madhim Sharanam Praptaye, Narasingha Madhim Sharanam Praptaye, Davkara Kamalavare Nakam, Adbhuta Shringam, Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Brangam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Prabhu Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubrangham Keshavadritam Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Prabhu Jai Jagadish Hare Om Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Nishingadev Nishingadev Nishimadev Jaya Nishimadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Narahari, 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 Jaya Narahari, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you, co-host and participants, for your active participation. See you all next weekend. Hare Krishna, one and all.